Rachel took the stage after dinner. She started with the usual thank yous, her team, the leadership, blah blah blah. People clapped politely. I was about to take another sip when she said it. And of course, she paused for dramatic effect, turning toward the front row. I want to thank the one who's been truly invaluable to me these past few months. I started to smile, assuming maybe, just maybe, she was talking about me. That she'd throw a bone to the guy who cleaned the gutters, grilled every weekend, and never once complained about her business trips to Denver that somehow required 3 sets of lingerie. But then she did it. She pointed. To Marcus, she said, grinning at the CEO like he'd just proposed marriage. Now I'm with someone who's really worth something. And the room exploded. Laughter, applause, someone even whistled. I didn't move, didn't blink. I just stood there, bourbon in hand, wondering how many people in that room knew. Judging by the smirks and a few sideways glances, more than one. Probably half. She never looked at me, never even flinched. So I smiled. Then I walked out. Not stormed, not stumbled. Walked. Got in the elevator, descended 45 stories of polished marble and glass and other things that reeked of money I'd never see again. Hit the lobby. Stepped out onto the street. Night air cold enough to sting. And that's when I got the text. It's done. Got everything. You still want to go through with it? I stared at the message, then looked up at the skyline, the same one she was staring at from her ivory tower. Yes, I typed. Send it all. And send it tonight. The first thing you need to understand is, this wasn't spontaneous. You think I just happened to get a message that night with a bow-tied expose on Rachel's sins? Nah, I didn't just catch her in the act. I built the trap myself. I laid the bait, set the sensors, waited for the right moment. And when she stood on that stage and handed me a knife in front of 100 strangers, I smiled because I already had hers at her throat. Figuratively, of course. A month before the party, I noticed the password on her laptop changed. That was my first hint. Rachel wasn't tech-savvy, never had been. I handled our Wi-Fi, our security system, hell, even programmed her damn coffee maker. So when the password suddenly locked me out, I knew something was up. Then came the receipts. 2 hotel stays in the city billed under wellness retreats. Funny thing, Rachel hated spas. Called them sweat lodges for desperate housewives. And the times didn't match up with her trips to Denver. I checked the dates against our joint credit card. 2 dinners at Lucien's, our anniversary spot. Except I wasn't there. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Confrontation is for amateurs. I started collecting. Texts. Calendar screenshots. Charges. One by one, I built a digital coffin with her name on it. But the cherry on top? Her work laptop. She forgot it one night. Said she was too tired to go back for it. I knew the IT guys at her company. One owed me after I fixed his drywall for free. Told him I had suspicions she was being harassed by someone at work. He gave me access under the guise of printing HR documentation for her. Inside, goldmine. I found emails between her and Marcus Holt, the CEO. Nothing explicit. These people aren't stupid, but the tone said everything. I can't stop thinking about Friday. Your guidance is inspiring. Yeah, inspirational guidance. Must have been one hell of a performance review. But the real kicker? There was a spreadsheet, hidden under a renamed folder, Q4 planning. Except when you opened it, it wasn't budget forecasts, it was expense reports. Doctored. Dozens of line items rerouted to accounts labeled Special Vendor Management. Only thing is, those vendors didn't exist. Rachel was siphoning money. Not a lot, just enough to fly under radar. Private dinners. Jewelry. One-line item marked gift. Discretion advised. All billed to the company. You think I just walked out of that party with a bruised ego? No. I walked out with evidence. That text I got as I left? That was from Jonah. Jonah works in compliance for a financial watchdog organization. We met years ago when I helped his brother's construction company settle a dispute with a client. He owed me. So I gave him the whole package, emails, screenshots, invoices, everything. Told him to wait until she showed her true colors. That night, she handed me the green light on a silver tray. While she was popping champagne and grinding elbows with her, someone worth something, Jonah was dropping the files straight into the inbox of 3 key people. The head of internal audit, the chairman of the board, and just for fun, Marcus Holt's wife. Yeah, I don't half-ass closure. The next morning, I didn't set an alarm. Slept in. When I finally sat up and stretched, my phone had 16 missed calls. 2 from Rachel, 3 from her assistant, and the rest from numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored them all. Then I turned on the news. There she was. Rachel Lane, Director of Strategy, terminated amid ongoing fraud investigation. Her photo right next to a grainy headshot of Marcus Holt, whose press statement looked like it had been drafted by someone halfway into a bottle of Xanax. We take allegations of financial misconduct very seriously. No denial. No defense. I watched in silence, sipping my coffee. I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. I just nodded. Justice didn't always come with handcuffs. Sometimes, it wore designer heels and strutted its way into self-destruction. By 10 a.m., the news had hit every major business blog. LinkedIn was buzzing with vague posts from her former colleagues. Surround yourself with people you trust, and hard lessons, but growth follows. The passive-aggressive corporate way of saying, glad you got caught, which Rachel still hadn't come home. I didn't expect her to. My guess? She was holed up in some overpriced hotel, whisper screaming into her phone, trying to glue her life back together with cheap PR and crocodile tears. My phone buzzed again. This time, she left a voicemail. Ethan, please, call me. I don't know what happened, but they've let me go. They said someone sent things. Look, I don't know what's going on, but I need you. Just call me, okay? Please. No apology. No accountability. Just panic. I deleted the message and poured another coffee. By noon, I blocked her number. Not permanently, just long enough to make her sweat. Let her wonder how much I knew. How deep it went. Let her spiral. I spent the day cleaning. Not the house, I cleaned out the bank accounts. We'd always had separate savings. Hers because she wanted independence. Mine because I didn't trust someone who used the word networking the way most people use breathing. But we had one joint account for shared expenses. It wasn't much, around $8,000. I moved it to a private account, transferred the utilities to my name, canceled her credit card, and reported it stolen. By dinner, she couldn't pay for a vending machine. The next thing I did? Called Jonah. You sure you don't want to press charges? He asked, voice crackling on speaker. Not yet, I said. Let her think the worst is over, that she can salvage her life. Give her a week. Maybe 2. Jonah laughed. Man, you were cold. No, I replied. I'm patient. And patience paid off. 2 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. Please. I'll do anything if you just talk to me. I know I messed up. You didn't have to destroy my whole life. I almost replied. Almost. But I had more work to do. See, the one thing Rachel always underestimated, besides my intelligence, was my memory. She assumed I was some simple man. A background character in her highlight reel. Just the guy who hung the Christmas lights and kept the fridge stocked. But I remembered everything. The passwords. The private folders. The burner Gmail account she used for private correspondence. I'd seen it open once while she was in the shower. She minimized it too quickly. Didn't think I noticed. But I did. And with a little password reset and the answer to her security question, what was your childhood pet's name? I was in. And what I found. Not just cheating. Not just Marcus. Oh no, she had a collection. Rachel was running a side hustle in secrets. Screenshots of internal memos. Leaked product proposals. Confidential negotiation drafts. She had an archive of dirt that made Watergate look like a parking ticket. And worst of all, a draft email to a reporter. Subject line, conflicts of interest at Holt and Hartley. Dated a month before her promotion. She wasn't just sleeping with the CEO. She was blackmailing him. That's when it clicked. Her toast at the party? That wasn't just cruel. It was strategic. She was announcing her loyalty, publicly tying herself to Marcus, so if he fell, she fell with him. She was betting he'd protect her. But Marcus didn't get a chance. I pulled the trigger before she could use him as a parachute. Poetic, right? And now I had leverage. Not just evidence to burn her life down again, but proof she'd been holding the lighter herself. So I printed everything. Neatly. Chronologically. In color. Sealed it in an envelope and labeled it. In case you ever think about crawling back. 3 days after the story broke, Rachel finally showed up. Not with flowers, not with a tear-streaked apology. No, that would have required a soul. She came home with designer sunglasses hiding her eyes and a suitcase I bought her last Christmas, the same one she took on her conferences. She didn't even knock. Just used her key, like nothing had changed. I was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping black coffee, reading a book. Not the paper or the news, I'd already read every article about her downfall twice. I was reading The Art of War. She walked in like a ghost that still thought it had unfinished business. "Ethan," she said, voice low, cautious. "Can we talk?" I didn't look up. "You've got 5 minutes. That's 4 more than you deserve." She flinched, just barely, then dropped her bag and sat down. I finally looked at her. Eyes red. Makeup smeared. Confidence gone. I didn't enjoy seeing her like that, not in a gleeful way. But I did appreciate the symmetry. "I'm sorry," she started. I raised a hand. "Stop. You're not sorry. You're exposed. That's different." She opened her mouth. Closed it. "Good." She was learning. "I don't know how you found out," she finally said, "but I need you to understand Marcus manipulated me." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You think this is about Marcus? You think this is about one affair?" I leaned forward. "Rachel, I could have forgiven that. Maybe. If I was feeling generous. But this? The fraud. The lies. The condescending speech in front of 100 people while you pointed at another man and called me worthless." Her face crumpled. "I didn't mean that." "You meant every word," I cut in. "You said what you wanted to say. You just didn't expect the consequences." Silence stretched between us like a noose. "I've lost everything," she whispered. "My job, my reputation, even Marcus. He won't return my calls." I tilted my head. "And I should care because—" She blinked at me. "Because I'm your wife." "Not for long." She froze. "Divorce papers are in the mail. Already filed. Already signed. Irreconcilable differences, just like your character and decency." Her mouth opened again, like she had more to say, but what came next was the real kicker. The one I didn't expect, and the one that nearly made me laugh a second time. "I have nowhere to go." "Oh, the sympathy card." I stood, walked to the cabinet, pulled down the manila envelope I'd labeled 3 days ago. The one filled with her emails, her fake invoices, her internal drafts. The one I hadn't sent yet to the SEC, or her parents, or her alma mater's ethics board. I slid it across the table. She didn't touch it, just stared at it like it might bite. "Inside," I said, "is your reputation's tombstone. But it stays sealed for now. On one condition." She finally looked up. "What?" "You disappear." Her jaw trembled. "You want me to run?" "No," I said. "I want you to vanish. Quietly. No press tours. No blog posts about healing. No TikToks about toxic husbands. You take what little dignity you have left, and you leave this town. You don't speak my name. You don't contact me. You don't write a memoir." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "And in exchange," I continued, "this folder stays buried. You get to salvage the scraps of your life without me stepping on your fingers every time you try to climb back up." She stared at the envelope, then at me. Finally, she nodded. One slow, broken nod. "Good," I said, turning back to my coffee. "You have 24 hours. After that, I make a few phone calls." She left 20 minutes later. Didn't take the suitcase. Didn't say goodbye. Just walked out the same way she walked onto that stage, heels clicking, head high, pretending she still had control. Only this time, there was no applause. After Rachel left, the house was quiet in a way I didn't recognize. Not peaceful. Not yet. Just empty. The kind of silence that echoes back at you. The kind that forces you to confront what's left behind after the smoke clears. There were still traces of her everywhere. A silk robe over the closet door. Perfume bottles on the vanity. A half-burned candle in the bathroom labeled seductive amber. Cute. I packed her things without ceremony. Folded her designer dresses, boxed her jewelry, her shoes. Labeled it all. Returned to sender. Then I changed the locks. That afternoon, I called Jonah. Told him I wouldn't need the SEC package yet, but to keep it warm, in case she forgot the terms of her exile. He laughed. "You always this prepared?" I replied, "Only when I'm underestimated." And then, I got to work. The thing Rachel never understood, what most people don't, is that men like me don't just take hits. We study them. We analyze the pattern of the punch. We find the weakness in the swing. She thought I was just a quiet husband. A 9-to-5er who paid the bills and grilled on Sundays. What she didn't know was that I'd been sitting on an idea for 2 years. An idea bigger than her fake invoices and bigger than Marcus Holt's name on a building. I'd been designing a platform. It started as a hobby, just something I tinkered with on weekends. But after what she did, it became something else. A purpose. A weapon, if needed. A way to make sure that no one ever held power over me again. The platform was called EchoGrid. At its core, it was simple, a blockchain-based whistleblower network, anonymous and secure, for employees to report internal corruption without fear of retaliation. See the irony? She committed fraud. I was building the system to prevent it. But here's the part that really mattered. EchoGrid didn't just protect people, it tracked patterns. Repeated offenders. Financial anomalies. Company cultures that bred silence and submission. It would be the AI-driven watchdog the corporate world didn't want but desperately needed. I knew I needed funding. Partners. A structure. So I called in a few favors. Guys who owed me from the construction tech world. One from my college roommate's startup incubator. Another from a quiet angel investor I'd helped avoid a lawsuit years ago. 3 meetings. 2 weeks. By the end of the month, EchoGrid wasn't just an idea. It was real. Incorporated. Trademarked. Fully funded. Staffed with 5 engineers and a legal advisor. I even hired a PR firm to start seeding the story. A betrayed husband turns pain into progress. They ate it up. Meanwhile, Rachel's name kept popping up in smaller articles. A failed attempt to start a consultancy. A LinkedIn post trying to rebrand her as a business ethics coach. The comments section? Not kind. Every time I saw her grasping for relevance, I smiled the same way I did when I walked out of that party, calm, certain, and in control. She tried reaching out once. Through a mutual friend. She wants closure, the friend said. Tell her the door's already closed, I replied. And bolted. One night, I sat in my office, the new one, not the dining table at home, signing off on the first EchoGrid partnership. A major firm wanted to pilot the system across all their departments. The ink wasn't even dry yet, and the CEO was already praising us in interviews. I thought about Rachel. How she said she was with someone worth something. How she pointed to a man in a suit and humiliated me like I was the help. And I realized. I was never the one who lacked value. She just lacked vision. It was a Tuesday. Cold, wet, gray, the kind of day that feels like the whole world's got a hangover. I was in my new office, a minimalist space downtown. Brick walls. Black steel shelves. Glass doors. Clean. Controlled. A place where I set the tone. Where no one called me Rachel's husband anymore. I was wrapping up a Zoom call with a cybersecurity team when my assistant, Gwen, poked her head in. There's someone here to see you, she said, raising an eyebrow. Didn't have an appointment. Says his name is Marcus Holt. I smiled. Not because I was surprised. Because I wasn't. Send him in, I said, casually shutting my laptop. And there he was. Marcus Holt. CEO. Golden boy. Predator in polished shoes. But not that day. That day he looked like a man whose empire had termites chewing through the foundation. His tailored suit hung slightly off his frame. His skin had that pale, tight quality of someone who hadn't been sleeping well. Or eating. Or winning. Ethan, he said, extending a hand. I looked at it like it was an insect and let it fall. Marcus. He cleared his throat, sat down, uninvited. I waited. I came to talk, he began, voice low. About Rachel. About what happened. You'll have to narrow that down, I said, leaning back. Are we talking about the fraud? The affair? The humiliation? Or the part where she tried to throw me under the bus on stage? He had the audacity to flinch. I didn't know she would say that, he muttered. I didn't expect her to burn it all down like that. Oh, Marcus, I said, folding my hands. She didn't burn it down. I did. She just danced in the smoke. He stared at me. I know it was you, he said after a moment. You're the one who exposed it. Sent the documents. Triggered the investigation. I raised an eyebrow. And he hesitated. I need your help. Now that made me laugh. Not a chuckle. A full, head-back laugh that echoed through the glass office walls. You want my help? He leaned forward. The board's ready to cut me loose. I've lost every major client I had lined up this quarter. Legal's breathing down my neck. You made your point, okay? You won. But if this goes any further... I'm not the one pushing it further, I said calmly. That's the thing about consequences, Marcus. They don't stop just because you're tired of facing them. He was sweating now. Actually sweating. I offered him nothing. No water. No kindness. Just the truth. You see, I continued, I've built something now. Something real. EchoGrid is going to make sure people like you get caught a whole lot sooner. You and Rachel were just the beta test. The warm-up act. He swallowed hard. So what? You want revenge? You want me to suffer? I tilted my head. I want accountability. But watching you suffer is a pleasant side effect. He stood. This isn't over. You're right, I said, Standing 2. It's not. Because the next time you try to climb, Marcus, the world won't remember the suits or the speeches or the stock options. They'll remember this. You were outmaneuvered by a quiet man in the back of the room. He left. Didn't say goodbye.